You know, there are a significant number of people in this industry, whether you're doing a lease or whether you're on a lease purchase. If you don't read these documents and understand these documents fully, you're screwing yourself in more ways than you realize. Because I've done videos in the past on like R.E. Garrison, and I showed parts of their contracts in those videos so that people watching them could actually stop the video and read that for themselves. Each and every single day, R.E. Garrison was violating or breaching the terms of their own damn contract, okay? Every single day. EOS, you go back and watch some of those videos and you'll see where they too were violating their own contract. If you don't know what the terms of your contract are, you cannot hold them to the terms of their own contract. These contracts are, for the most part, one-sided as hell to begin with, okay? So why compound the damage to you by not knowing what they're responsible for doing? They have certain criteria within that contract that, you know, certain performances they have to do. If they're not performing on the contract, then they're in breach of that contract. They can't hold you to the terms of the contract if they're breaching their own contract, okay? A lot of these companies like to put out their lease purchase agreements, but then they want to run you and treat you like you're an employee. So they want to have their cake and eat it too. But here's the facts. If you are a 1099 quote-unquote independent contractor, and I've said this a number of times previously, under the rules of the Internal Revenue Service that govern independent contractors, they can tell you, I need you to take this load from point A to point B. They can tell you it needs to be there by such and such a day, such and such a time, okay? And that's where it ends. They cannot limit you to buying your fuel from certain places, okay? If they've only got, you know, discounts at Love's, then, you know, that's what you're bound to if you want that discount. You can have your own fuel card, and in some cases, you getting your own fuel card would actually save you more money than what theirs is, because some companies, you know, let's take Hurricane Express. If they only allow you to fuel at Pilot and Flying J, right? So they've apparently got a deal with Pilot and Flying J for a little bit of a discount. But if that discount is only going to save you 10 cents a gallon, okay, is it worth it? You know, so you might be able to go get you a fuel card somewhere else that is going to save you 20 cents a gallon. What's that? There's a fuel card out there. I can't remember the name of it. It's like, I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, it gives you, I know of up to 50 cents a gallon off on the fuel price, off the pump price for your fuel. you know, they're tied directly to your bank account, so they take it out of your bank account every week or every time you fuel or whatever. So there are ways that you might be able to actually save more money by having your own fuel card and not using theirs. But I had one guy contact me about Hurricane Express and say that if you quote unquote go out of route, you know, they'll fine you or something like that for you going out of route. Well, if you're a 1099 contractor, an independent contractor, and I would think that the lawyers for Hurricane Express would have already told them this, but they cannot. If you're an independent contractor, not an employee, they cannot tell you which route you can or cannot take. All right, if you are not an employee, meaning you're not getting an hourly wage or you're not on a W-4 or whatever, you can go any route that you choose, and there ain't a damn thing they can do about it. Because, you know, like I said before, my background's in contracting. If I subcontracted something out to someone else, I could tell them I need this done, I need it done by this day and time, and that's where it ends. Okay, I could not provide them tools. I could not oversee them or supervise them. I could not dictate the hours in which they work. All right, you need to go online and search for yourself. Go search Google and put in what is the IRS definition for an independent contractor. Because there's a lot of these trucking companies out here who want to have the freedom of having you as an independent contractor, so they don't have to pay matching funds, and they don't have to pay in Social Security and 401ks and all of this kind of stuff. But at the same time, they want to dictate like you are an employee, and they can't do that. That is a big no-no. If you don't hold their feet to the fire and hold them accountable for that, you're screwing yourself. Because you, as long as they can give you the appointment date and time, that's fine. But you choose the route that you want to travel. You choose where you want to buy fuel. You choose what hours of the day you want to drive. That's all up to you. They ain't got a leg to stand on when it comes to telling you what you can and cannot do. They can have their company policies, okay, on how they want to operate their company, but you're not an employee, and that doesn't apply to you. You're an independent contractor, and you have to understand what that term independent contractor means. Look up what the IRS definition of an independent contractor is, because the whole reason that you are an independent contractor, they don't want to have you as an employee. And these contracts will always stipulate in some form or fashion somewhere that you are an independent contractor. You are not an employee, and so they can't run you like an employee and have you as an independent contractor. You can sue their ass very easily. You can get them in a whole world of trouble with the IRS if that's what they're doing. But if you don't know these things for yourself, if you don't take the time to read these contracts and know what they contain, if you don't take the time to educate yourself, talk to an attorney, hey, what is an independent contractor under the terms of the law? Talk to an accountant. The easiest thing to do is to just go online and do some research, and you can find out what the law says an independent contractor is, what the law says, what the IRS says an independent contractor is, because that's what matters. What these companies say don't mean diddly shit. You read your contract. If you don't, shame on you, because you're only screwing yourself. If you read these contracts, you know, hey, you're supposed to be doing this and you've not been doing that. So, you know, there's a consequence for that. You're in breach of your own contract. You know, R.E. Garrison, I remember one of the things they would not do, even though their contract said, we will give you a oh crap, I can't. A rate confirmation. We'll give you a rate confirmation for each and every load. But they never give their lease purchase guys rate confirmations. Why? You know, that's just one way that they're breaching their own contract. Okay? There were half a dozen other things that I came across that I know that they're not doing. So if these companies are not performing on their own contract, you kind of got them by the short hairs. But if you don't know what's in the contract, how are you ever going to know if you got them by the short hairs? You can't negotiate with someone if you don't have the information. You can't have leverage on something if you don't have the information. You know, you are so badly cheating yourself by not taking the time to read these contracts before you sign them and fully understand them. Don't ask the company to explain what this means to you. Learn for yourself what each and every paragraph in there means. If you don't understand it, ask an attorney, ask someone who knows. Scan the contract into a PDF file or even a JPEG file and send it to me. I'll review it and tell you what it says section by section by section. I'll gladly review it and tell you what it says. But you can read these things for yourself. They're not difficult. Understand what it is you're signing before you're signing and stop cheating yourself, because odds are a lot of you would walk away and not sign those contracts if you knew up front what they were. If you knew what they said before you ever got to orientation, you wouldn't waste your time and energy going to orientation. Please take the time, educate yourself, and stop cheating yourself and your family. Okay? Good luck, take care, be safe, and I'll see you down the road. Bye.